Right now, before you go out and face this world, because there's going to be a lot of challenges, all right, that you're about to face. And all of them have significant consequences.
The drama in Huntsville has reached a level that many viewers never expected. Just when it seemed like things inside the Scott family were finally starting to settle down, everything suddenly took a dramatic turn. What happened this time was not just another disagreement. It opened the door to emotions that had clearly been building for a very long time. Fans of Love and Marriage Huntsville have followed this family's journey for years. They have seen arguments, tension, and plenty of uncomfortable moments along the way. But even longtime viewers were not prepared for the powerful statement Jaylen recently made. His words were direct, emotional, and impossible to ignore. The moment he said them, the reaction was immediate, especially from Maurice Scott. As soon as Jaylen spoke, the mood in the room completely changed. The cameras were capturing every second, emotions were already high, and suddenly it felt like feelings that had been hidden for years were finally coming out into the open. What started as a simple family conversation quickly turned into something much deeper. At first, everything seemed normal. It looked like just another discussion between family members. But within moments, the tension began to rise. The silence in the room felt heavier, and Jaylen's expression made it clear that something serious was about to be said. Then the moment came. Jaylen said something that instantly stopped everyone in the room. The atmosphere shifted, and you could see the impact immediately. And Maurice's reaction made it clear that those words hit harder than anyone expected. What followed became one of the most emotional and intense moments the show has seen in a long time. The conversation quickly escalated, and viewers watching could feel just how serious the situation had become. Now fans everywhere are asking the same question. Was Jaylen finally speaking a truth that had been ignored for years? Or did he say something that crossed a line and could permanently damage his relationship with Maurice?
Kimmy is doing as admirable as a spouse. To roll over and suffer through it, I look at it as her standing by me while I'm standing by her. There's a difference between wants and needs. I'm a person who actually needs sex, not a person who wants sex.
Why do you need sex?
I need sex like Carlos needs mess.
To truly understand why this moment turned so explosive, it's important to look back at the complicated family dynamic that has been developing over the years. When Maurice Scott married Kimmy Scott, their union created a blended family. From the outside, it seemed like a fresh beginning, two people coming together to build a life and raise their children in the same home. But blended families are rarely as simple as they appear. They come with a mix of emotions, adjustments, expectations, and sometimes feelings that are not easy to express. Everyone involved has to find their place, and that process can take time. At one point, the situation became even more emotional when frustration spilled out. The words made it clear that the issue wasn't just about the present moment, it was about feeling disrespected and unprotected. And the pressure didn't stop there, because it also meant having to face questions from family members who were watching everything unfold.
It was hella disrespectful, and it doesn't protect me. And now I have to answer questions from my mother?
Yeah, I didn't think about the collateral damage. To me, it was like, if I just apologize to my wife.
So now you gotta apologize to my mother.
To understand why this moment became so intense, it helps to look at the long and complicated history between Maurice Scott and Jaylen. For years, viewers of Love and Marriage Huntsville have watched their relationship grow inside a blended family. When Maurice married Kimmy Scott, many people believed he stepped into a strong father figure role in Jaylen's life. He supported him, encouraged his education, and often pushed him to focus on building a successful future. From the outside, the relationship looked positive and stable. Fans frequently praised Maurice for helping guide a young man who appeared respectful, disciplined, and determined. However, family relationships are often more complicated than they appear. What viewers see on television does not always reflect everything happening behind closed doors. Over time, some people began to notice small signs that Jaylen might have been feeling uncomfortable in certain situations. During tense family discussions, he sometimes looked quiet or distant. While adults argued around him, he often stayed silent, almost as if he was observing everything rather than participating. It felt like he was absorbing the tension but choosing not to speak about it. For a long time, that silence continued. Jaylen rarely shared his deeper feelings publicly, but according to people close to the situation, pressure had been building for years. Growing up in a household where expectations were high can create stress, especially in a blended family where different parenting styles and personalities are involved. When emotions are not always openly discussed, those feelings can slowly build beneath the surface. Eventually, that emotional pressure had to come out, and when Jaylen finally decided to speak honestly, his words were not casual or light. Instead, he shared something that revealed how he truly felt about his place in the family. The conversation between him and Maurice began calmly. They sat down together as if they were simply going to talk through a few issues that had been lingering in the background. At first, it sounded like a normal discussion between a parent and a young adult. Maurice asked questions, and Jaylen responded carefully. But as the conversation continued, the tone slowly became more serious. Jaylen began explaining that there were moments in the past when he felt overlooked. He talked about situations where he believed he had been expected to carry more responsibility than others in the household. According to him, there were times when the standards placed on him seemed different from those placed on other family members. As he spoke, it became clear that his feelings were not new. They had been building quietly for a long time. But the most shocking moment came when Jaylen shared something that no one in the room expected to hear. He admitted that there were times when he felt like he had to earn his place in the family, rather than naturally belonging there. Instead of feeling fully accepted, he sometimes felt like he had to constantly prove himself. Those words instantly changed the atmosphere in the room. For Maurice, hearing that statement was deeply upsetting. It sounded less like an expression of feelings and more like an accusation. Almost immediately, his mood shifted. What started as a calm conversation suddenly became tense. You could see frustration appear on his face as he tried to understand what Jaylen meant. Maurice has always taken pride in being a provider and mentor. He strongly believes in teaching discipline, responsibility, and hard work. In his mind, the guidance he offered Jaylen was meant to prepare him for success in life. So, hearing Jaylen suggest that he felt treated differently struck a very sensitive nerve. Instead of quietly accepting the comment, Maurice began defending himself. He reminded Jaylen of the support he had provided over the years. He spoke about helping with school, offering advice, and encouraging him to take advantage of opportunities. From Maurice's perspective, he had done everything he could to guide him in the right direction. Because of that, hearing that it still was not enough made him visibly upset. The tension in the room quickly became clear. Jaylen tried to explain that he was not trying to disrespect Maurice or question his intentions. He said he was simply describing how certain experiences made him feel over time. But Maurice struggled to hear it that way. To him, it sounded like his efforts were being dismissed. His voice became sharper as he explained that stepping into a father figure role in a blended family is not easy. There are boundaries, challenges, and emotional adjustments involved when guiding someone who is not biologically your child. From Jaylen's perspective, however, that explanation only reinforced his point. His feelings were never about biology. What mattered to him was the emotional connection. He wanted to feel equal within the family, not like someone who needed to constantly prove that he belonged. That difference in perspective created a painful misunderstanding between them. Both men felt hurt. Both believed their point of view was valid, and neither one seemed ready to step back. As the conversation continued, the emotional distance between them became clearer. Jaylen explained that growing up in the household sometimes felt stressful. He described feeling pressure to behave perfectly, perform well, and avoid making mistakes. At times, he felt like he was expected to act older and more responsible than others around him. From Maurice's perspective, those expectations were meant to build character. He believed that teaching discipline would help Jaylen succeed in the real world. But Jaylen was not questioning the value of discipline itself. What he was questioning was why the expectations seemed uneven. That difference in interpretation pushed the conversation to a boiling point. Maurice became visibly angry. He raised his voice and insisted that he had never treated Jaylen unfairly. He repeated that he had always tried to support and guide him. Yet Jaylen remained calm. Instead of arguing, he simply explained that feelings do not always follow logic. Even if Maurice believed he was being fair, the emotional experience for Jaylen had been different. That quiet honesty made the moment even heavier. Sometimes the hardest thing to hear is that someone you care about feels hurt by something you never intended to do. When people hear that kind of truth, it can trigger defensiveness rather than understanding. That appeared to be exactly what was happening in this moment. Maurice struggled to accept that his actions might have been interpreted differently than he intended. To him, Jaylen's statement felt like a criticism of his character. To Jaylen, it was simply an honest expression of his emotions. The clash between those two perspectives filled the room with tension. When viewers later watched the scene, many could not stop discussing it. Social media quickly filled with strong opinions. Some people defended Maurice, saying he had stepped up as a father figure and deserved appreciation for his efforts. Others supported Jaylen, arguing that emotional experiences are valid even when they are difficult to hear. Many viewers pointed out that blended families can be extremely complicated. Situations like this are not always about right or wrong. Often, they come down to two people experiencing the same reality in completely different ways. What made the moment so powerful was how real it felt. There was no dramatic performance or exaggerated behavior. Instead, it looked like a genuine conversation between two people struggling to understand each other. For many viewers, that honesty made the scene uncomfortable because it reflected situations that happen in real families all the time. Children sometimes feel misunderstood, parents sometimes feel unappreciated, and sometimes important conversations happen years later when the emotions have already built up. After the argument slowed down, the room became very quiet. Neither Maurice nor Jaylen seemed to know what to say next. The emotional intensity had drained the energy from the conversation. It was clear that something important had just happened. A truth had been spoken out loud, and once something like that is said, it cannot simply be taken back. For Jaylen, expressing his feelings may have felt like finally releasing years of emotional pressure. Carrying confusion or frustration for a long time can be exhausting. Speaking honestly might have been painful, but it may also have been necessary for his own peace of mind. For Maurice, the moment was equally difficult. Imagine believing you have done everything possible to guide someone, only to hear that they still felt disconnected. That kind of feedback can feel deeply painful. It forces you to question your actions, your intentions, and your understanding of the relationship. Neither of them walked away feeling like they had won the conversation. Instead, both seemed emotionally shaken. Viewers could sense that the moment might become a turning point in their relationship.